record on this computer. We are here. Very well. Welcome, everyone. I'll share my screen again with you. I'm going to just move this out. And move this out. Yep. And here we are. Is that correct? That looks good. And do the full screen. Okay. So last week we started off with this diber, this commandment of do not be a false witness. And we spoke about how unique human speech is and the power that speech gives us. And I hope you all use that during the Haggadah. And we spoke about the significance of Pesach, etc. Now, today we're going to get down to what's called the brass tacks. Introduction, Peshat. We are over here. Let's get my little, where's my little, I don't know where my pen's gone. Hang on a sec. Let's see where my pen.
Not seeing any pages, by the way.
Hey, you don't see? Oh, I didn't share yet?
No.
Okay, hang on. Share screen. There you go. Okay, we're good?
There we go. Now it's coming through, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Good. Okay, so we're going to talk about today we're going to talk about we're going to get into the what's called the literal understanding. Let's just go back here. Let's get a nice full screen and go back here. So when we look, Peshat is the Hebrew word. It's a good Hebrew word to know. It means the literal understanding, the simple understanding. Text. So we know that the Ten Commandments feature twice in the Torah. So besides being written on the tablets and kept in the Ark, they were written in the Torah in two places, one in Parshas Eskanan, in the Parsha in Exodus, and the Parsha of, the Parshas Yisro in Exodus and Eskanan in Deuteronomy. In Exodus, it says, Lo ta'aneh b're'echa et shaker. That's what we've been talking about. Do not testify falsely in court. And the Rambam says it very clearly in the Sefer Mitzvot. The Rambam, Maimonides, wrote a book. The Talmud tells us that there's 613 mitzvot in the Torah. And he wrote a book, and many others also tried to do this, and actually numbered them. So this is prohibited mitzvah 287. Do not testify falsely in court. As it says, do not be a false witness. Couldn't be clearer than that. Excellent. What's interesting here is that the version in Deuteronomy is slightly different. Now there are about 30 differences, and so it's not so easy to count them because some phrases are different. But there are quite a few differences between the first tablets and the second tablets. That's the simplest way to think about the difference. And over here it says, Lo ta'aneh b're'echa eid shav. Do not answer about your neighbor as a eid shav, worthless witness. And the Chizkuni explains that this includes even true testimony. However, it's inadmissible in court. For example, the witness saw it alone without a second witness. And we know that most laws in the Torah, in terms of testimony, you need two witnesses. So if you only saw it yourself, and it's going to be inadmissible, so then you're not allowed to say it. Yeah, and this is true for court, and it's also really great advice for life, right? If what you're going to say isn't going to help, right? So why say it? Especially since you're testifying about someone there's some negative action over here, obviously, that we brought to court. He owes money, he doesn't owe money, whatever it is. Why would you do that? So that's good advice for out of court as well. Okay. Let's look in what's underlying this, and of course we started that last week. So what are the implications of this debate for everyday speech? The Sforno text expands the prohibition, and the Sforno says like this. Here, this is the commentary. So he says, included in this diber is lashon hara, speaking badly of others, and motzi shem ra, spreading damaging lies. So you see, this is actually a very important source for all our work we do with Project Aseret, because you see, this great commentator, he understood that the Dibrot, the Ten Commandments, are not limited to their literal understanding. And what's the difference between lashon hara, speaking badly of others, and motzi shem ra? So spreading damaging lies, isn't that the same thing? So the Chofetz Chaim, Rabbi Kagan, he explained to us the difference between the different parts. So he says like this. He says that lashon hara are disparaging comments which are true. Lashon hara means it's true. Your neighbor has terrible taste in shoes. It's true. But no one needs to know that, or the person that you're speaking to doesn't need to know that. If you actually are lying, that's called motzi shem ra, which means to take out a bad name. So disparaging comments which are false. So that's the difference between those two. And people often make a mistake about that. Lashon hara is negative speech, not false speech. Right? When you're speaking badly about others for no reason, just because you want to express your bad feelings, normally projecting yourself in some way, that is not allowed. Okay, the Talmud in Eruchin says like this. The tongue kills three: the speaker, the listener, and the one spoken about. Right? The person speaking, why does it kill the person speaking? Well, first of all, karma is a Jewish idea. What goes around comes around. Right? You speak badly of others, it's going to come back to you, both practically and spiritually. The listener, the person listening, his world's being killed. Why? He had a positive impression about others. He's a positive person. He likes other people, and suddenly he's telling him all the bad things about another person. And the one spoken about, that is, that's always the obvious one, the person who's the victim of lashon hara. Rav Chama, son of Rabbi Chanina, said, which verse alludes to this? Where do we see this in the prophets? And it says in Proverbs, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that indulge in it shall eat of its fruit. Meaning that if you speak negatively, it's going to come back to you. If you speak positively, that too will come back to you. And the Chofetz Chaim says in his book that there's a third level even called rechilut. Rechilut or rechilis is specifically tale bearing. For example, guess what Sarah said about you, even if it isn't disparaging and it's true and causes the hearer to feel negative about the other person. So here we see this core value of the power of speech being really spoken out in a very detailed way about what you're allowed to say. It's amazing, right? We have a religion that's not governing, how to pray only, but it's governing how we should deal with each other. What should we speak about? What should govern our speech one to another, which is really amazing. Actually, my wife told me that when she was becoming a Bala Tshuva, when she was getting into Yiddishkeit, this made a huge impression on her. She was like, wow, there's actually like a legal, an ethical, but not just, but there are actually laws about how to speak to each other. It's incredible. So obviously, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me is ridiculous. In what ways does the dibur apply to the anonymous nature of the internet communication? Do you think the way that people are online and is there less accountability? Is because there's more anonymity. There is people are more prepared to say what they want, and obviously, because it's spread so quickly, there's a great danger online. There also could be a great positive, right? We could get good ideas out online through social media, etc. The media, much more quickly than ever before. Anyone want to comment on any of these questions?
If I may, you said that the internet's communication and it's almost removed the filter that everybody has, where you're saying things online, be it Twitter, Facebook, whichever medium you want to choose, and it's almost like that filter one has about saying things to someone's face disappears, but you're still saying it to that person in their face as well.
Yeah, I hear that. That's true. Do you ever do that? I always think, what do you mean? There are more people that will know what I said, not less people. In a way, I'm scared of it, but I guess many people are not.
Well, if you look at what's happened in America at some of the major universities, be it Oxford and so on and so forth, they've actually expelled students for what they've done online. And because that filter has disappeared, they've done things that they wouldn't necessarily have done had they known the world could see it. And there are consequences for those actions. I mean,
right.
Law has held what you've said online to be liable. So that whole Lashon Hora is actually people are being held accountable today.
Yeah, which in a way is a good thing, right? People see it's more transparent. Not sure that many people are very negative about it, but I'm not sure it has to be that way. Okay. Lashon hara le'to'elet. What does this mean? The word to'elet is a Hebrew word which means for benefit. So sometimes saying that something negative is actually positive. For example, warning a friend not to do business with a crook. You know the guy's a crook. Your friend is naive. He's going into business with him. You got to warn him, right? This is called lashon hara le'to'elet. So you're speaking negatively, negative speech, for positive consequence. Even so, the Chafetz Chaim cautions us to be careful when doing it. Okay, so there this is a synopsis of the 7 conditions. Number 1, you know it's true. You can't be, well, I heard. You have to know it's true. You know it's bad, right? It could be that the person had legal right to, you heard that some guy is in a court case. Well, maybe he's not wrong. Maybe he's right. You try to first speak to the person yourself if that would work, right? So you go to the crook and you say, listen, you got to stop your ways. Often that's not going to work. You aren't going to exaggerate. So it's not like this is the worst person in the world. Don't get into business with him. You got a problem in business. Doesn't mean that everything he does is the worst thing in the world. You have pure intentions for a positive person, right? This guy you've been jealous of your whole life, and now's your chance to get back to them. Be very careful, right? You need pure intentions. A positive person cannot be achieved in another way. Think creatively, and no more harm will come to them than it should. So that's not so, that's not so easy to fulfill those all the time. Where's an example of lashon hara le'to'elet? The benefit of speaking badly for to'elet, of course, is Mordechai. Mordechai in the Purim story is sitting at the palace gate, and Bigsan and Teresh want to kill are plotting to kill the king. And Mordechai learned about it and tells Esther, hey, I think there's some guys who want to kill. And it was written down. And the whole story ends with, or the story turns when Achashverosh wakes up in the night, he can't sleep, and he needs to read something, and he reads the annals, and he sees, wow, hang on, Mordechai saved me. What was done to them? Okay, this is quite interesting. It's called the Journalist's Creed. What about in journalism, right? When you are writing for the public, it's a very tricky thing, how to be critical, how to expose the evils of people and society, and yet to be honest and positive. So here's a good question for you. Have you ever been in a situation where you needed to employ Lashon Hara L'To'elet, right? Where you had to warn someone about doing something, and you experienced that all 7 conditions apply. Recently, it has seemed that there's a free-for-all in politics and reporting. Some say this allows for truthful debate. Others say it's not decent and sets a terrible precedent for society at large. What do you think? Any comments? Okay, moving on. I really like this. This part to me is really important because I think there's a lot of, especially from a Torah learning, a Jewish point of view, there's a lot spoken about Lashon Hara, right? We don't, there's even bumper stickers, all right? Lashon Hara 101, you belong in, or Lashon Hara, go away, you belong in pre-1A, you know, whatever. That's what my kids say. That's it's a lot about not speaking negatively, but what about speaking positively? So this idea I got from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. If it's wrong to speak badly about people, it's a mitzvah to speak well about them. What is the power of Lashon HaTov? Literally, good speech. So the Talmud says, the well-known part of the Talmud, how do one dance before the bride? What should one recite before dancing at a wedding? And Beit Shammai says, one recites praises of the bride as she is. And Beit Hillel says, a fair and attractive bride. And now Beit Hillel said to Beit Shammai said to Beit Hillel, but what about when she's clearly unattractive? Do you have to say a fair and attractive bride? And the Torah, right? And the Torah itself says, keep yourself from a false matter. So Beit Hillel said to Beit Shammai, according to your statement with regard to one who required an inferior acquisition, right? Your friend just bought a new tennis racket and you think it's junk from the market. Should another praise it or enhance its value in their eyes, or condemn it and diminish the value in the eye of the person who acquired it? Surely you must say that he should praise it and enhance its value in the eyes and refrain from causing him anguish. The person's getting married. The person just bought it. There's not much they can do, right? You're too late to make them change their mind. So from here we learn a person's disposition should always be empathetic with others and treat everyone courteously. In this case too, once the groom has married his bride, one praises her as being fair and attractive.
My mother-in-law has a good little saying when it comes to that kind of thing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So she says the car's in the garage.
Right. Nice. I like that. We'll use that.
I also think there's the other saying which says that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so what's attractive to one person might not be attractive to another person, and exactly the other way around.
Yeah. You know, it's a bit paradoxical, you know, because we live in a world where there's extreme individualism, and yet everyone is just the expert on opinion about what's good for everyone. Well, hang on a second. You know, we learned in the previous debate of do not covet that we're all individuals and we should embrace that. And if we really got to live with that, we'd be much, wouldn't be trying to force our opinions on people so much, right? Realizing, wait, an individual, maybe they like that. Not for me, but for them, that's fine. That's a very good thing. Okay, in Pirkei Avot, it says, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 students. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hokenes, Rabbi Shua.
Sorry, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
You've given two different approaches to the case of someone getting married. Either, you know, if the woman is not attractive, so either you don't say anything, or either you say, what happens, you know, so either you say that she is an attractive woman, or you specifically say that she's not an attractive woman, or whatever the case may be, bride. But what happens, why is there no emphasis placed on saying nothing?
You know, I guess, you know, you're introduced, a guy comes up to you and says, hey, this is my, you know, new wife. It sounds like from the case, the Gemara, there's a need to say something. You need, how do you dance in front of the color? Meaning, there's a point at the wedding or in front of the groom to praise her. I'm not sure where that time is today. What?
Well, if there's a point to specifically praise her, then there can be no instance whereby a negative comment would be
no. I mean, not to praise, but to comment about her. To, you know, that seems to be, you know, now and again, your friend might ask you, what do you think? You know, even in those cases, I think it's important that we are sensitive to what people, right? You know, when's the last time your wife bought a dress and you were like, nah. Okay, happens once, and then you learn your lesson. Okay.
Or made a supper.
Right. Now, so Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 students, and he would recount their praises. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hokanus is a pit covered in plaster that does not lose a drop. Fantastic memory. Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, happy is the one that gave birth to him. Fantastic guy. Rabbi Yossi the priest is pious. What a tzaddik. Rabbi Shimon ben Natanel fears sin. And Rabbi Elazar ben Arak is an ever-strengthening fountain. Creative. So, what was the point? What is this? You know, this is an ethical work, Birkavot. Why is it telling us a story about what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai did? And the answer is that he used his words. He defined for his students their strengths. And I actually heard a very beautiful idea back in Cape Town from Rabbi Shurkin when he was visiting, that he said, you know, this time in between Pesach and Lag BaOmer, the students of Rabbi Akiva died. Just by the way, someone said to me, that's a very, you know, there was a plague. It says that Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, and a plague came about, and they all died between this period. And the plague, we celebrate Lag BaOmer because the plague stopped. So someone said, well, do you think this year maybe the plague will stop on Lag BaOmer? That would be the great celebration. But what was the problem? Why did this plague happen to Rabbi Akiva's students? And the Talmud says because they were not noheg covered zelazeh. They didn't act they didn't honor each other. Now the question over here is, hang on a second. Rabbi Akiva is the one that says love your neighbor as yourself is the general principle of the Torah. He saw that as, you know, as a guiding principle in life. How could it be that his students missed out? Did they not love each other? So the answer is that they're always spoken about as 24,000 students. And they did not, you know, they were just, I'm a student of Rabbi Akiva. I'm a student of Rabbi Akiva. No one was looking out for the covered, the honor. What's the honor of something? It's individuality, actually, how it's unique. That's where we are. That's really where we find our honor. And we spoke about this in Do Not Covet, that a person's individuality, your uniqueness, is really a divine gift, right? Just like God is one, so too you are one, right? And just like the whole world, we're trying to connect to that oneness. That's why we love connecting with each other, is to put the parts together. So, but each piece in a puzzle needs to be in its place, right? It can't just connect anywhere. You need to be who you are, find your place, and do what you're meant to do in this life. And part of being a good friend, part of being a very good friend and a teacher is pointing out to people what their unique qualities are. And you do that through speech, right? There's nothing more empowering when someone says something that you know to be true, or resonates with you at least, you agree that it's true. And it's a compliment, but it's also, it's empowering in the sense that, wow, yes, they're right. You know, if you heard that, that your rabbi would say about you that, you know, you're a pit covered in plaster that does not lose a drop, so you wouldn't take your memory so lightly, right? So, wow, I'm blessed with a memory. Let me use it. Let me commit things to memory. Let me become an expert in that. So, yeah, the questions over here are, which of the texts above are example of reassuring speech? Which do you see as comforting speech? Which show inspirational power of words? All of those. What effect do you think Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's words had on students? How often do you think about how your words affect others? Right? Big question, right? Do we stop and think, wait, are my words affecting, how are they affecting my spouse, my children, my friends, my parents? It's a really good question to ask oneself. And I think we have a long way to go with this diber, right? If we often think, where's the world in terms of do not be a false witness? And I think we have a lot to go, a lot to work on to becoming, and also, you know, you have to be careful. I'm cautious to become, what's the word? To become oversensitive, right? One can start becoming too sensitive oneself. There's always room for humor. There's always room for a good joke. But at the end of the day, it's got to be done with taste. It's got to be done that it's really, like, you know, the Maharal says, there's a Gemara that says the temple was destroyed because of Lashon Hara. And he says, because our words are the hooks that connect us in society. And Lashon Hara destroys society. And when the people, the temple was a unit, right? Was a microcosm of unity. And when our society became broken, the temple broke. That's just how it is. So, you know, think about how can we use our speech. Do not be a false witness, right? Be a true witness, be a positive witness, bringing positivity into this world. Here, the integration. What does this diber mean to you as a core value? That's the thing, the core value. What do you mean? In my life, one of the most important things is recognizing the power of speech and using it positively, right? Using my speech, making sure that the way that I speak is comforting, is reassuring, is whatever I'm drawn to in a positive way. When can it be applied? When can it not be applied? What are the challenges we face in a world that, right, to get the right words is not easy, right? Sometimes we think we're going to say the right words and people take them in very different ways. We need to practice. Okay, what can, you know, not only what I think would be a nice thing to say, how are they going to hear it? After getting to know someone well, you know what they want to hear, you know, or how they hear things. And then how can you overcome the challenges? You know, sometimes you just, hey, you know, to me, one of the biggest challenges of speech is we don't see it. You know, it just comes out of our mouths and we hear it and we don't see it. So there's nothing to it. It's meaningless, right? It's not a nice big building. It's not, you know, yet it's very powerful. So to build that sensitivity, here's some everyday suggestions. Keep a log of your conversation, speak deliberately and intentionally, just once a day. Try to do that. Great, everyone. So that's the end of our half an hour and this diber. So we've now got two major, we'll call core values for life, right? Number one, do not covet is recognize everyone as an individual and embrace that, including yourself. And number 2, do not be a false witness is recognize the power of speech and use that to make connections, to bring unity and love into this world. Any questions?
You got me, Rabbi. Can you see me?
Hello, Barry. How are you?
Yes. I was just listening to something else about the thing on the television tonight. The whole thing in South Africa, a whole conference now. Big talk.
Yes, I'm sure. Okay, good.
That's why I was delayed.
I'll send you the recording.
When you back, yes, please send me the recording. When are you back?
Okay.
Tomorrow night?
No. I think what we're going to do is start again next week, Tuesday, Thursday.
Oh, not this week. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Tomorrow night's Yontif, Barry.
Is it I've lost track. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Someone said there's only yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
They say it's very bad. The viruses in Baltimore is very bad, apparently.
Yeah, in America, unfortunately, very, very sad.
Okay,
anyway, so yeah, everyone, have a good Yontif.
Thank you.
And then we'll continue next week on Tuesday. Right?
Good.
Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rolf. No questions. It's been great.
Great. All right. Take care.
Only positivity.
Yep. We bring that into the world.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Have a great week and a good Yontif. Bye.